Well, the Big Ten and the SEC are going full heel now. When it looked like they were making concessions in the college football playoff future, now they are making a move that may be the tipping point for everybody. Welcome into the channel. I am John Kurtz. Here on this channel, we talk college football, college basketball, conference realignment, all from a Big 12 angle. But we have fans from all across corners of college football that tune in for the live shows on Wednesdays and Sundays. So make sure you are subscribed if you have not already. All things conference realignment all the time in those chats. And it is a blast. A lot of people, very lively. Make sure that you get in there, click that bell so you know when I'm going live, and like the video. That is a really easy way to support the channel. That helps me out a lot. Let me know what you think of the Big Ten and the SEC here. Is this going too far? And are they going to eventually break away? Let me know what you think in the comments of the videos. So this is what we have. Last I talked to you, we did a live show on Wednesday night about how, hey, the 14-team model that now is being discussed, according to multiple reports from every single major college football reporter out there, is that, okay, you're going to get 3 auto bids for the Big Ten and the SEC, and then 2 for the Big 12 and the ACC, 1 for the G5, which didn't seem nearly as bad as the initial models that looked like it was going to be 4 for the Big Ten and the SEC, and perhaps just 1 or 2 for the Big 12 and the ACC. But now we get to the hook. And the hook is that the Big Ten and the SEC are going to want buys in this thing, automatic buys for each of their conference champions. I'm going to read to you the story from Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports, who says champions of the SEC and Big Ten would hold exclusive rights on the 2 first-round buys, according to one version circulated to several college athletics administrators. The version has not yet been finalized and is only being socialized before more exploratory work on the format. Those with knowledge of the model told Yahoo Sports. But I will interject here and say the last round of reporting we read was saying, hey, when it's being socialized like this, that's usually the first step into it happening. So this is a sign that this is the one that they really want to push through. Dellinger says such a concept, guaranteeing buys for the Big Ten and the SEC, is an unusual but somewhat expected maneuver from college football's Goliath. It's also a move that has garnered pushback from administrators outside of those 2 conferences. Yeah, you think? And look, on the surface, you would look at this and say, okay, why do this? Why do you need this? The Big Ten and the SEC, especially the SEC, most years are going to be perfectly fine and they will have the 2 top spots anyway. So why do you need to automatically do that when it kind of undermines the credibility of this entire model? And the answer is, look, first of all, I understand questioning that. And that was my first knee-jerk reaction. Like, what kind of stupid bleep is this? Like, this is an unnecessary move for the Big Ten and the SEC when they could still have all the money and the power, and this doesn't really affect that. But money is the answer. And the answer is, remember, another thing that's been discussed in a lot of these articles, that is conference championship games. And the worry was, hey, we go to a 12, 14-team playoff model. Like, what happens to conference championship games? Are they still important? Would we even be able to play them? It would greatly devalue the conference title game. But what if the Big Ten of the SEC, you say, hey, going into the conference title game, if we didn't have the guaranteed bye, it'd be like, well, snooze, both of our teams are going to be in the playoff. They might be playing for a little bit of seeding, but like, who really cares? Now, what if we put a first round bye on the line? Okay. We keep a first round bye on the line because we are guaranteed to get that for our conference champion. Now there are legitimate stakes attached to the conference championship game. Now the conference championship game has way more of a hook, way more of a draw for viewership, and way more incentive for the teams to go out there and play hard. If they know that you go win that game, you're going to get a week off in the college football playoff. That becomes pretty big. That's why they want it. They want to be able to keep the money from the conference championship games, because those conference title games do make a nice little bit of money for the conferences involved. So that is what this is. That is absolutely what this is. And it just sucks. I mean, this is college football now. This is all it is. It's greed. It's money grabs, cash grabs. There's nobody looking out for the greater good of the sport. This is kind of a gut punch to find this out and what is driving all of this and just know where everything is headed. It sucks. Here's some more from Ross Dellinger. In a 14-team model that officials are socializing with their leagues, the Big Ten and SEC would each receive 3 automatic qualifiers. The ACC and Big 12 would each get 2. Group of 5's best team would qualify as well. There would be 3 at-large. Notre Dame, of course, would get in if they were in the top 14. The model calls for the top 2 seeds to have buys into the second round. This year's 12-team format, the 4 highest-ranked conference champions get the buys. So in the 14-team, it's just 2 teams getting buys, and they would be the Big Ten and the SEC champ. There's your difference there. And he does say in this, Dellinger, in the 14-team version circulating across the country, the ACC and Big 12, the other two major conferences would not have access to obtaining a bye, an unprecedented move, and perhaps a tipping point for some administrators in those leagues. So I would just pay attention to that wording, perhaps a tipping point. I mean, tipping point for what? I don't know. Maybe this becomes them saying, hey, screw this. We're not going to do this. They totally stand up to this. And then the SEC and Big Ten say, fine, we're already talking about leaving the NCAA. We'll leave the NCAA. We'll go do our own thing. We'll have our own playoff. Forget you guys. This has created enough tension, judging by what we're seeing on Twitter and the reaction from everybody. And I'm going to show you a little bit of reaction here in just a moment. That does make me think that's a possible outcome here based on what we have. And the SEC and Big Ten could look around and say, well, we tried. We tried to include all of you guys. We tried to include Sisters of the Poor here, and they didn't like what we threw out there. So we're moving on to do our own thing. The seeding and pairings of a 14-team bracket is expected to operate in a similar way to the current structure, where the playoff selection committee's rankings would equate to seeds number 1 through 14. The 6 first-round games would be paired up. Number 8 seed playing 9, 7 v 10, presumably at the home field of the better seed. However, administrators caution this model could change. Commissioners are expected to meet virtually over the next week to begin further examining the format. There is much tension and consternation around the situation. There is an urgency, too. College football playoff leaders are in a race against time to agree to several unresolved issues before extending their new TV contract with ESPN. The current contract ends after the 2025 playoff. Remember what I just told? I told you it was a couple videos ago, but I said we could be a month away from the SEC and Big Ten breaking off, and it's because of the time crunch. ESPN wants them done. Bill Hancock wants them done here within a month to be able to fortify that TV deal. So they've got to do it fast. And now there are tensions flaring and people upset about what the SEC and the Big Ten are trying to shoehorn through here. That could absolutely be something that disrupts it to the point where they make a rash decision and just say, all right, fine, we'll go do it on our own. Stay tuned. Just stay tuned to the channel. I guess I'll put it that way. Dellinger notes they also need to agree on a new revenue distribution model and voting structure. Oh, yeah, those things too. I mean, there's just a lot going on here, but I do want to show you a little bit of the reaction. So I'm going to share the screen here. First, I guess I will get you Ross Dellinger's example here of what the playoff would have looked like last year under this format with the 2 auto buys for the Big Ten and SEC and everybody else filling in. So he puts Texas in the SEC there. SEC number 1, Texas gets a bye. Big Ten number 1, Michigan gets a bye. And then you can see everybody else filling in. ACC number 1, Florida State, best team outside of the ACC and Big Ten there. I think a lot of people would argue they wind up getting the 5 seed. I guess people would argue against that. I'm maybe a little off there on Florida State. But Florida State would get the 5. Washington gets the 3. The 4 goes to Alabama. You've got Oklahoma State, if you're a Big 12 fan, playing Alabama there in that matchup. Oregon State actually sliding in here as the 14, which is quite interesting. And Arizona, another Big 12 team, the way that he is doing it here is at number 10. So anyway, there's a look at what it would have looked like. But that is not the only thing I'm going to share. I also want to share with you the reaction that people have had to the Big Ten and the SEC trying to do this, because it has not been very positive, even from people who are usually like fairly just reporters. I mean, Andrew Marchand is very much a reporter. I don't always see a ton of opinion from him. Like, he's a reporter, and he says the SEC and Big Ten asking for buys for their champions in college football playoff is bad business. That seems to be a pretty commonly held belief here. Yeah, go get the money as much as you can right now, Big Ten and SEC. But these types of decisions driving everything. This is what people talk about when they say eventually there will be diminishing returns, and eventually it's going to really kill the sport. This is that type of a decision. Unfortunately, it is the reality. And the other one I was going to show you, Pat 40. I have not had a chance to read his entire article on this yet, but it was pretty clear how he felt about it. Pat 40 says, as if the Wednesday power grab for guaranteed playoff bids wasn't enough, now the Big Ten and SEC want guaranteed buys. Obnoxious gluttony. Pat 40 calling it obnoxious gluttony. Whew. Just hold on to your butts. Hold on to your butts with what is going to happen now over the next couple of weeks. I mean, it could be a fascinating couple of weeks and a really transformative couple of weeks. Or I guess we could get some form of new playoff. Maybe the SEC and Big Ten see some of the pushback here and they decide to go against this, but it's really hard to see that with the leverage that they have and the way that greed and money has just ruled everything for a very long time now in college football. So again, make sure you're subscribed. Live shows Wednesdays and Sundays, extremely lively, a lot of fun, tons of people in there. Make sure that you get in there. Click the bell so you know when I'm going live. Like the video and let me know in the comments. Is it obnoxious gluttony? Are you with Pat 40 on that? Bad business. Do you think it is bad business for the Big Ten or the SEC or not? Is it screw the rest of you little guys? I'm a Big Ten or an SEC fan, and this is all fine and dandy. Let me know in the comments. And you can contribute to the channel on Venmo at John-Kurtz-4. Take care, and I will talk to you soon.